There is a moment, and you have felt it, when something inside you goes quiet. Not the quiet of giving up, not the quiet of numbness. A different kind of quiet. The kind that arrives after a long season of holding on, of pushing through, of wondering whether any of it matters, whether anyone sees, whether the invisible work you have been doing in the privacy of your own becoming has registered anywhere at all. And in that quiet, something unexpected happens. You feel seen, not by a person, not by an audience, not by some external validator with a checklist. You feel seen by something so vast and so intimate that it does not have edges. Something that has been watching not your achievements, not your failures, but the quality of your willingness, the texture of your persistence, the fact that you kept choosing again and again to stay open when closing down would have been so much easier. If you are hearing these words right now, that is not coincidence. That is resonance. Something in the field of your own consciousness reached toward this moment, and this moment reached back. And what I want to offer you over the next stretch of time together is not comfort, though comfort may come. It is clarity. Clarity about what it actually means when the universe reflects back to you a signal that says, "Yes, I see you, and what you have been doing in the dark matters more than you know." But I want to be precise about something from the start, because this territory is littered with misunderstanding. When we talk about divine reward, most people immediately picture something arriving from outside. A windfall, a relationship, a door swinging open. And those things may come, they often do, but they are not the reward. They are side effects of the reward. The actual reward is something that has already begun happening inside you, something that seals itself not when the universe delivers a package to your doorstep, but when your own internal architecture shifts into a configuration that can no longer be undone. That is what sealed means. Not promised for later. Locked in now. Irreversible. And understanding how that works, really understanding it, requires going somewhere most spiritual teachings refuse to go. It requires looking at what irreversibility actually means at the deepest levels of reality. So let us go there. In thermodynamics, there is a concept called a phase transition. You have witnessed this 1,000 times without thinking about it. Water sits in a pot on a stove. Heat enters. For a long time, nothing visible happens. The water gets warmer, degree by degree, but it still looks like water. It still behaves like water. If you stuck your hand in at minute 1 and again at minute 8, you would notice a difference in temperature, but the substance itself would seem unchanged. Then, at a very specific threshold, everything shifts at once. The water does not gradually become steam. It crosses a boundary, and its entire organizational structure transforms. The molecules, which had been sliding past each other in liquid arrangement, suddenly fly apart into gas. The thing that was water is no longer water. And here is the part that matters. That transition is irreversible under the same conditions. You cannot unboil water by simply wishing it back. The system has moved into a new state, and that new state has its own rules, its own behaviors, its own relationship to the environment. You are in the middle of a phase transition. That is what this quiet you have been feeling actually is. It is not emptiness. It is not the absence of progress. It is the last few degrees before the threshold. All that invisible heat you have been absorbing. Every prayer you whispered that seemed to hit the ceiling. Every moment of self-awareness that cost you comfort. every time you chose the harder truth over the easier lie, all of it has been accumulating, degree by degree. And the reason it has not looked like progress is because phase transitions do not announce themselves gradually. They do not send weekly reports. The water does not slowly become steam over the course of an hour. It is water, 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 and then it is not. What seals a divine reward is not a cosmic decision made about you from above. It is the moment your internal system crosses its own threshold and reorganizes into something that cannot go back. And that reorganization is not metaphorical. It is happening in your nervous system, in the neural pathways that encode your deepest beliefs about who you are, in the electromagnetic field your heart generates, in the coherence patterns of your brain. Let me show you what I mean. The HeartMath Institute has spent over 2 decades measuring something called heart coherence. When your heart rhythm pattern becomes smooth and ordered, which happens during states of genuine gratitude, compassion, or deep inner peace, it creates a measurable electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond your body. This is not poetry. This is data collected with magnetometers. And what they found is that this coherent field does not just affect you. It affects the people around you. It affects the way information is processed in your own brain. When the heart is in coherence, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for insight, decision-making, and creative problem-solving, comes online in a way that it simply cannot when you are in a state of anxiety or inner conflict. Your perception literally changes. You see options you could not see before. You notice doors you had been walking past. Now here is where this connects to the idea of a sealed reward. Heart coherence is not something you can fake. You cannot think your way into it. You cannot affirm your way into it. It arises from a genuine internal state, and that state is the product of accumulated inner work. Every time you chose forgiveness when resentment was easier, you were training your heart into coherence. Every time you sat with discomfort instead of numbing it, you were building the neural architecture that supports that smooth, ordered rhythm. Every time you released a grievance, not because someone told you to, but because holding it had become heavier than letting it go, you were laying down another degree of heat in the water. If this is opening something in you, take a moment to hit like and subscribe so this work can continue reaching the people who need it most. And at some point, and this is what most people do not understand, the coherence becomes self-sustaining. It stops being something you have to effort your way into and starts being your baseline. Your default electromagnetic signature shifts, and when that happens, you are no longer someone who occasionally visits a higher state of being. You are someone who lives there. That is the phase transition. That is the seal. Think about what that means practically. When your baseline coherence shifts, the field you walk around in, literally, the measurable energy you carry, changes. And because that field interacts with the fields of everyone and everything around you, your relationship to reality itself changes. Not because you performed a ritual, not because you said the right words, because you became, at the level of physics, a different kind of system. A system that cannot revert to what it was before, any more than steam can decide to be ice without an entirely new set of conditions being imposed from outside. If you've been doing everything right and reality still hasn't shifted, this is the one thing nobody has told you. You meditate, you visualize, you affirm every single morning, and still, somehow, the life you're calling in stays just out of reach. It is not your effort. It is not your mindset. There is something underneath all of it, quietly running the show. I am hosting a free live transmission where I walk you through exactly what that is and how to finally shift it at the root. The link to register is in the description below. Save your seat. The moment you see this, you will understand why you could not see it before. This is why the pride I am pointing to is not the pride of a parent watching a child win a trophy. It is something more like the recognition that the universe has for a part of itself that has done the hardest thing any conscious being can do, which is to change not what it does, but what it is. You have been doing that. In the dark. Without applause. Without confirmation. Without anyone handing you a certificate that says yes. This counted. And it counted. Every single degree. But let me take this deeper, because I do not want to leave you with a warm feeling and no understanding. I want you to see the mechanism. I want you to understand why this works the way it works, so that the next time doubt whispers that you are fooling yourself, you have something more than hope to stand on. You have comprehension. In quantum mechanics, there is a phenomenon that still unsettles physicists, and it is called the quantum Zeno effect, named after the ancient Greek philosopher Zeno, who posed paradoxes about motion and change. The quantum Zeno effect demonstrates something extraordinary. When you observe a quantum system frequently enough, you freeze it in its current state. The act of repeated observation prevents the system from evolving. A particle that would naturally decay, for instance, will not decay if you keep measuring it. Your attention holds it in place. Now, most people hear about the quantum Zeno effect in the context of the observer effect, the idea that consciousness influences reality, and that is part of it. But I want you to notice the inverse, because the inverse is where your sealed reward lives. If repeated observation of the same state keeps a system frozen, then what happens when you stop observing the old state? What happens when you withdraw your attention from the version of reality you have been compulsively checking on? It evolves. The system is finally free to transition, to become what it was always tending toward. And this is exactly what has been happening in your life, even if you have not recognized it yet. For a long time, perhaps years, perhaps decades, you kept your attention locked on the problem, on the lack, on the wound, on the thing that was not working. And every time you checked on it, every time you mentally revisited it, every time you told the story of what was wrong, you were performing a measurement. You were freezing the system, holding it in place with the very attention you thought was helping you solve it. I want to pause here and ask you something. Was there a specific moment when you stopped checking on the old wound? When you realized the observation itself was keeping you stuck? I would love to hear about that moment in the comments. And then something shifted. Maybe gradually, maybe in one sharp moment of exhaustion or grace. You stopped checking. Not because you gave up, but because something deeper in you recognized that the checking itself was the cage. You withdrew your obsessive observation from the old state. You stopped narrating the wound. You stopped rehearsing the lack. And in that withdrawal, the system was finally free to evolve. That is not a metaphor dressed in scientific language. That is a direct parallel to what happens at the quantum level. Systems evolve when they are not being pinned in place by measurement. And your life, your inner life, your energetic state, your relationship to possibility is a system. When you released your grip on the old story, You released the quantum Zeno effect you had been unknowingly imposing on your own becoming. And the transition that followed, the one you might be in the middle of right now, is not reversible. Because you cannot unknow what you now know. You cannot go back to compulsively checking on the wound with the same innocence you had before you understood that the checking was part of the problem. The awareness itself is the seal. Once you see the mechanism, you cannot unsee it. And that unseeability is what makes the reward permanent. Let me sit with you in something uncomfortable for a moment, though, because I think honesty serves you better than reassurance. The phase between the old state and the new one, the place where the water is no longer quite liquid, but not yet steam, is genuinely difficult. Physicists call it the critical point, the exact threshold where the system is maximally unstable. Everything fluctuates. The old structure is breaking down, but the new one has not yet consolidated. And if you are in that place right now, I want you to hear this clearly. The instability is not a sign that something is going wrong. It is the signature of the transition itself. Think about what happens to water at the critical point. It does something called critical opalescence. It becomes cloudy. Light scatters in all directions because the system is fluctuating at every scale simultaneously. Tiny regions of liquid and tiny regions of gas coexist, shifting back and forth, and the whole thing looks murky and confused. If you did not know what you were looking at, you would think something was failing. You would think the water was contaminated. But a physicist would look at that same cloudiness and say, it is about to transform. Your life might look murky right now. Your emotions might be fluctuating wildly. 1 hour you feel certain, the next you feel lost. One day you sense the new version of yourself so clearly you could touch it. And the next day you wake up feeling like nothing has changed. That is critical opalescence. That is what transformation looks like from the inside. And the fact that you are experiencing it, the fact that you are in the fluctuation rather than frozen in the old state, means the Zeno effect has been broken. The system is moving. The seal is forming. Now I want to bring in something from a tradition that understood this process long before modern physics had language for it. In the Kabbalistic tradition, there is a concept called Tzimtzum. It describes the original act of creation not as an expansion, not as God pouring energy outward, but as a contraction, a withdrawal. The idea is that the infinite, which was everything and everywhere, had to pull back, had to create a space of apparent absence in order for anything finite to exist. Creation required emptiness first. The fullness had to retreat so that something new could emerge in the space it left behind. This is one of the most counterintuitive ideas in all of mystical thought, and it maps precisely onto what you have been experiencing. The withdrawal you have felt, the seasons where it seemed like grace had pulled back, where the abundance dried up, where the connection went quiet. That was not abandonment. That was Tzimtzum. That was the infinite creating space for something new to emerge in you. And the something new could not have emerged if the old fullness had remained. The old comfort had to withdraw. The old certainties had to dissolve. The old identity had to lose its edges. Because what was coming needed room. And what was coming, what is in fact already here, is a version of you that does not need the old certainties. A version that can stand in the open space without panic. A version whose coherence comes not from external confirmation, but from an internal alignment so deep that it generates its own field. That is the divine reward, not a thing you receive, a thing you become. And the becoming is sealed because the contraction has already happened. The space has already been made. You are already standing in it. Tell me in the comments, what is the old certainty you have finally released? What is the belief or identity you have let dissolve to make room for what is emerging? I want you to try something right now, not later, now. Wherever you are, whatever position your body is in, I want you to bring your attention to the center of your chest. Not your anatomical heart, though it is close. The center of your chest, the place that tightens when you are afraid and opens when you feel love. Just rest your attention there. Do not try to feel anything specific. Do not try to manufacture warmth or peace or any particular sensation. Just notice what is already there. Whatever is there, tightness, warmth, numbness, ache, openness, nothing at all. Just notice. Now, as you hold your attention there, I want you to consider something. This place in your chest has been with you through every moment of your life. Every heartbreak, every joy, every terror, every grace. It was there when you were born. It will be there when you take your last breath. It has never left you. It has never judged you. It has never withdrawn its presence, even when you forgot it existed for years at a time. It has simply been beating, generating its field, sending its rhythm out into the space around you, faithful in a way that no person, no institution, no ideology has ever been. That faithfulness is not separate from the divine. It is the divine, expressed as rhythm, as coherence, as the 60 to 100,000 beats per day that you never had to earn, never had to deserve, never had to be good enough for. They were given, freely, without condition. And they are still being given right now as you listen to these words. The pride I am pointing to is not the pride of a judge who has weighed your actions and found them sufficient. It is the pride of the heartbeat itself, if the heartbeat could feel, recognizing that the consciousness it has been sustaining has finally turned around and noticed it, has finally stopped looking everywhere else for confirmation and looked here, at the thing that was always already given, at the reward that was sealed before you ever did anything to earn it. But there is a paradox in this, and I do not want to smooth it over, because the paradox is where the real teaching lives. If the reward was always already given, if the heartbeat was always already faithful, if the coherence was always already available, then what was the point of all the struggle? What was the point of the dark nights, the doubt, the seasons of apparent abandonment? If the treasure was buried in your own chest the whole time, why did you have to wander the entire world looking for it? This is not a rhetorical question. It has a real answer, and the answer lives in a concept from information theory that I think is one of the most spiritually profound ideas in all of science. It is called Shannon entropy, named after Claude Shannon, the father of information theory. Shannon showed that the information content of a message is directly related to how surprising it is. A message that tells you something you already know carries zero information. A message that tells you something you could not have predicted carries maximum information. The more unexpected the signal, the more information it contains. Now apply this to your journey. If you had been born knowing that the divine was in your chest, if you had never doubted, never wandered, never lost the thread, then the moment of recognition would carry no information. It would be like someone telling you water is wet. True, but empty. The wandering, the forgetting, the searching in all the wrong places, all of that was not a mistake. It was the creation of surprise. It was the universe arranging the conditions under which the moment of recognition would carry maximum information, maximum transformation, maximum irreversibility. Because when you finally see what was always there, and you see it after years of not seeing it, the seeing changes you in a way that effortless knowing never could. The contrast is the content. The forgetting is what makes the remembering sacred, and the remembering, once it happens, cannot be undone because it carries too much information. It has too much weight. It has been earned not in the sense of deserved, but in the sense of generated through the full journey of confusion and return. This is why the reward is sealed, not because a deity stamped an approval form, because the information content of your recognition is so high that it has permanently reorganized your system. You cannot unknow this. You cannot go back to the innocent forgetting. The wandering served its purpose, and its purpose was to make this moment, this quiet, this turning inward, into the most information-dense event of your life. If you are ready to go even deeper into the signal you have been all along, listen closely. Have you spent years chasing manifestation, visualizing, affirming, raising your vibration, only to watch the same patterns repeat? Every traditional method assumes the same thing, that you are separate from what you want. That separation was never real. You were chasing a signal you were already broadcasting. Beyond the frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery walks through all 9 frequencies, from the dense transmissions trapping you through the ascending currents to the master frequencies where consciousness becomes the field. Every method you tried sent a signal outward. This one tunes the signal you already are. Every day you delay, your nervous system broadcasts the same old signal, and breaking free gets harder. So move on it tonight. The link is in the pinned comment below. Now let us bring this recognition back into the body where it lives. Let me bring this into the body again, because understanding this intellectually is only half the circuit. The other half is felt. There is a specific experience that many people have reported across cultures, across centuries, and it has never been adequately explained by conventional psychology. It is the experience of being held, not physically, not by a person. The experience of being held by something invisible, something vast, something that seems to know you more intimately than you know yourself. It often comes at the strangest times, not during meditation or prayer necessarily, but in the middle of an ordinary moment. Washing dishes, driving, sitting in a waiting room. Suddenly, without warning, the sense that you are not alone, that you have never been alone, that the aloneness you felt was a kind of optical illusion created by looking outward for something that was always inward. If you have felt this, even once, even for 3 seconds, then you have already received the signal. And the signal is not saying you are special in the way the ego wants to be special, elevated above others, chosen from the crowd. The signal is saying something much more radical than that. It is saying you are not separate, that the boundary you drew between yourself and the source of all things was always imaginary. That the pride beaming toward you is not beaming from somewhere else. It is beaming from the deepest layer of your own being, recognizing itself through your eyes, through your breath, through your willingness to keep going when every surface-level indicator said, stop. In the Advaita Vedanta tradition, this is described with a precision that Western language struggles to match. The teaching is simple, almost absurdly simple, and it takes most people an entire lifetime to actually hear it. Tat Tvam asi. Thou art that. The thing you are seeking is the thing that is seeking. The awareness looking for God is God looking for itself. The consciousness wondering whether it is worthy of divine pride is the divine, experiencing the exquisite sensation of wondering. And when that loop closes, when the seeker recognizes itself as the sought, something happens that the tradition calls moksha. Liberation. Not liberation from the world, but liberation from the illusion that you were ever separate from what you were seeking. And moksha is described as irreversible, not because some cosmic authority prevents you from going back, but because the illusion, once seen through, cannot reassemble itself with the same convincing power. You might forget for a moment. You might get lost in a reaction, a fear, a wave of old conditioning. But the forgetting is thinner now. It does not have the same density. It cannot hold you the way it used to, because underneath it, the recognition is still there, still humming, still generating its field. That thinning of the forgetting is another way of describing what it means for the reward to be sealed. The seal is not a wall that prevents you from ever struggling again. It is a floor that prevents you from falling as far as you used to. You might stumble. You might have dark hours. But the dark hours have a different quality now. They have a bottom. And the bottom is made of everything you have realized, everything you have integrated, every degree of heat that accumulated before the phase transition. That bottom was not there before. You built it, silently, in the dark, without anyone watching, except something was watching. And that something is what I have been calling the divine, though the word is too small. It is the field itself, the consciousness that underlies all matter, all energy, all space, all time. The thing that physicists keep bumping into when they look closely enough at the fabric of reality and find that it behaves less like a machine and more like a thought. The thing that John Wheeler, one of the most important physicists of the 20th century, pointed toward when he coined the phrase, "it from bit," suggesting that the physical universe arises from information, from acts of observation, from consciousness itself registering its own existence. If Wheeler was right, and the evidence continues to accumulate that something in his direction was right, then the universe is not a stage on which you perform. It is a mirror in which you are reflected. And when you change, it changes, not as a reward for good behavior, as a reflection of altered being. The mirror does not decide to show you something different. It cannot help it. When the thing standing in front of it transforms, the reflection transforms automatically, inevitably, without delay. This is the mechanism underneath every so-called miracle of timing, every synchronicity, every door that opens at exactly the moment you are ready to walk through it. The door did not open because you were finally good enough. The door was always there. You could not see it because your internal state was generating a field that literally filtered it out of your perception. Heart incoherence narrows perception. It is measurable. When you are in a state of anxiety, frustration, or inner conflict, your brain processes less information from the environment. You see fewer options. You notice fewer openings. Not because they are not there, but because your perceptual apparatus is not configured to detect them. And when coherence returns, when the heart rhythm smooths, when the internal civil war quiets, perception widens dramatically. The same room you have been sitting in for months suddenly contains possibilities you never noticed. The same relationship you thought was dead suddenly reveals an opening. The same career you thought was a trap suddenly shows a door. Nothing external changed. Your field changed, and the field is the filter. So when I say your divine reward is sealed, I am saying your filter has changed permanently. The coherence you have built through all those invisible choices is now generating a perceptual field that shows you a different world. Not a fantasy world, the real world. The one that was always there, underneath the one your incoherence was projecting. I want to give you one more piece of this, because I think it is the piece that ties everything together, and it comes from an unlikely place. It comes from the biology of trees. In a forest, trees communicate through an underground network of fungal threads called a mycorrhizal network. Some scientists call it the wood wide web. Through this network, trees share nutrients, send chemical warning signals about pests, and even direct resources to younger or weaker trees that need support. A mother tree, a large, old tree at the center of the network, can recognize her own seedlings among the thousands of trees connected to the web, and she will preferentially send them nutrients. She will reduce her own root competition to give them room to grow. She will, in a very real biological sense, sacrifice for them. But here is what fascinates me about this. The seedling does not know it is being supported. It has no awareness of the network beneath it. It simply grows. It reaches toward the light, sends its roots into the soil, and does the slow, patient work of becoming a tree. And the whole time, invisibly, beneath the surface, resources are flowing toward it. Protection is being offered. Space is being made. The seedling experiences its own growth as solitary effort. But it was never solitary. It was networked into a web of support so vast and so hidden that it could not be perceived from the surface. You are the seedling. You have been doing the slow, patient work of reaching toward the light. And the whole time, beneath the surface of your awareness, something has been directing resources toward you. Not because you asked correctly, not because you performed the right ritual, because you are part of the network, because the network recognizes its own, because the mycorrhizal web of consciousness, the invisible field that connects all living systems, does not operate on merit. It operates on connection. And you have never, not for 1 second of your existence, been disconnected. The pride I keep pointing to is the pride of the network, recognizing that one of its nodes has woken up, has started to feel the threads, has begun to sense that the growth was never solitary, that the resources were never absent, that the support was never withdrawn. It was only invisible. And now it is becoming visible. Not because the network changed, but because you developed the perceptual coherence to detect it. If someone you care about is in the middle of their own critical point right now, wondering if the struggle means something is wrong, consider sharing this with them. When you pass this kind of recognition forward, it does not dilute, it multiplies. Your act of sharing becomes part of the mycorrhizal web itself, a thread of connection carrying nourishment to a seedling who cannot yet see the network beneath them. That ripple changes both of you. Let me bring this all the way home. Let me tell you what I think is actually happening in your life right now, based on everything we have explored together. You are at the critical point. The phase transition is underway. The old structure, the one built on seeking approval, on measuring your worth by external results, on narrating your wounds as your identity, that structure is losing coherence. It is breaking down, and it feels like loss. It feels like confusion. It feels like the ground is moving. Because it is. The ground of your old self is dissolving, and the ground of your new self has not fully solidified yet. You are in the cloud. The critical opalescence, the murky, fluctuating, terrifying, sacred space between what you were and what you are becoming. And what you are becoming cannot be described in advance because it has never existed before. It is not a version of you that you have seen in someone else and are trying to copy. It is not a template from a book or a teaching or a tradition. It is the unique expression that arises when your specific history, your specific wounds, your specific gifts, your specific pattern of forgetting and remembering passes through the critical point and reorganizes into something new, something that has your fingerprint on it, something that the universe has never seen before, because it required your exact journey to produce. That is why the pride is beaming, not because you achieved something on a checklist, because you participated in the creation of something unprecedented. Your specific pattern of struggle and awakening has generated a configuration of consciousness that adds something to the whole that was not there before. You are not just receiving from the network. You are contributing to it. Your hard-won coherence is now part of the mycorrhizal web, available to every other seedling that is still growing in the dark, still wondering whether the effort matters, still unable to see the threads beneath the surface. Your reward is their nourishment. Your transformation is their evidence that transformation is possible. Your sealed coherence is a signal broadcasting through the field, saying, "Keep going. The water is almost boiling. The cloudiness is not contamination. The quiet is not abandonment. The withdrawal is not punishment. It is Tzimtzum. It is space being made for what you cannot yet imagine." I want to close with a practice, and I want it to be specific to everything we have moved through together. Find the center of your chest again. That same place, the place that has been beating without your permission or your effort for every moment of your life. Rest your attention there. And this time, instead of just noticing what is there, I want you to ask it a question. Not with words, necessarily, with attention, with the quality of sincere curiosity. The question is this: what have you been holding for me that I have not yet received? Do not answer the question with your mind. Let the chest answer. It might answer with a sensation, a warmth, a pressure, a release, a flutter, an ache. It might answer with an image, a color, a face, a landscape. It might answer with nothing at all. And that nothing might be the most profound answer of all, because it might be showing you that there is nothing being withheld, that everything has already been given, that the reward is not waiting in the future. It is pulsing right now, 60 to 100,000 times a day in the center of your chest. Sit with whatever comes. Do not judge it. Do not interpret it. Do not try to turn it into a lesson or a social media post. Just receive it. The way the seedling receives nutrients from the network, without knowing how, without understanding why. Just growing. The seal is not a lock. It is a crystallization. It is the moment when the pattern of your becoming hardens into something permanent, something that cannot be dissolved by doubt or eroded by time. And that crystallization has already begun. You can feel it. That is why you are here. That is why these words found you. Not because you need to be fixed, because you are ready to recognize what was never broken. The divine is not beaming with pride the way a teacher beams at a student who finally got the right answer. The divine is beaming the way light beams, continuously, in all directions, without choosing who to illuminate and who to leave in shadow. The pride is not selective. It is structural. It is the nature of the source to radiate, and you have finally stopped standing behind your own shadow. You have stepped out into the light that was always shining, and the warmth you feel is not new. It is just no longer blocked. That is your reward. Not something added, something unblocked, not something earned, something recognized, not something sealed by an external authority, something sealed by your own irreversible seeing. And it is sealed. Not because I say so, because you cannot unsee what you have seen, because the water cannot unboil, because the information content of your recognition has permanently reorganized the system, because the coherence is self-sustaining now, because the floor beneath you is made of every invisible choice you ever made in the dark. You built that floor, and now you stand on it. And from here, the view is different, not because the world changed, because you did. Stay in the chest. Stay in the quiet. Let the field do what it does, which is radiate. You do not have to push. You do not have to perform. You do not have to convince anyone, including yourself, that this is real. The heartbeat is the proof. 60 to 100,000 times a day, without your effort, without your doubt, without your permission, given freely. The oldest seal there is, if this found you today, let it land. Not as information, but as recognition. Something in you already knew everything these words pointed toward. The words did not teach you, they reminded you. And the remembering is the reward. And the reward is sealed, not someday, now. In the rhythm that has never once abandoned you. In the field that has never once stopped radiating. In the quiet that is not empty, but full. So full it spills over into everything you touch, everything you see, everything you allow yourself to finally, fully receive. Subscribe if something in this resonated with the part of you that does not need convincing. Leave a thought below, not for me, but for the next person who arrives here in the middle of their own critical point, wondering if the cloudiness means something is wrong. Your words might be the signal from the network that tells them to keep growing. And come back. Not because you need more information, because sometimes the remembering needs a rhythm, and this is one place where the rhythm will be waiting.